Diaries, yo, what's good, people? Welcome back to another call-in show. We're here. I know it's been long awaited. It's been a few weeks since we've done our last one, but I've been seeing the comments, I've been seeing the chat, and you guys have requested it. So we're here a bit earlier than what I had originally planned, and as I did put 9 o'clock in the diary, but we're here. We're here. And we're here to have your say for people to step up and inflate their chest like I do mine every single week. But no, in all seriousness, big up to everyone that is tuning in. If you are locked in and you want to have your say, the link is posted in the chat to the live stream. And that's what we're looking for today, man. We're looking to hear what you guys are saying, where you guys are at, what your thoughts on Bournemouth game, as well as the AZ Alkmaar game upcoming this week, the return of the second leg. But yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you do all that good stuff. Road to 2K, as you can see up here. Show some love. Hit the subscribe button. Follow up on the socials to stay up to date with everything else that we got going on. Also on Instagram, if you just type in Durag Diaries and you can find the Instagram there. And also, we have a new member in the building today. Big up to Mr. Slot Ball, man. That's a real one right there. Big up Halimi as well. Big up to you. But yeah, look, I would say that we're thriving, but we're most definitely not. We're just surviving right now. I'm an Ange survivor. I'm an Ange survivor. And I think the question of today is, has Ange survived too long? Because I think far too many times Tottenham have made the grave mistake in sacking a manager early, or not really giving the manager a chance, you could say, because likes of Conte, you couldn't, he had quite a fair chance, a year and a half. Mourinho, some will say, was unfairly sacked prior to the Carabao Cup final. And then Nuno, only 10 games into his tenure at Spurs with 5 games and 5 defeats, was sacked as manager. So I think it's fair to say that Ange's been given an opportunity that not many of his predecessors have had. And he's definitely surviving. He's definitely surviving. When you look at what happened just 1 month ago, we got knocked out of the Carling Cup and FA Cup just in a matter of 3 days. I was going to say 1 week, but in a matter of 3 days, from Thursday to Sunday, Spurs had realized that they're now out of both competitions and we had nothing to play. Bear in mind, we went into that Liverpool game leading a 1-0 goal, and the Aston Villa game, it was always a game that you could look at and say, we probably should beat this team here. But we just didn't get the job done. So I think it's fair to say for me, Ange, is he the guy that he come in and said he was going to be? Don't look like it. Is he the big bad wolf, big Ange that he said he was going to be? Doesn't look like it. Is he going to win a trophy like he said he always does in his second season? It damn well don't look like it. So he's surviving. He's clutching onto straws, trying to reach at the air, and he's surviving. Somehow there's just strings that managed to pull him up again and again and again. So yeah, look, I'm just surviving right now. Big up to the chat, big up to Skills, big up DRD, Durag Diaries for those that don't know. And my guy E. Yo, big up Jords and the chat. Make sure you guys show some love to Elijah. I know he's been delaying with the content. I've been due to get onto him. And also, video coming out tomorrow. So, pow. Got to respond to some things that were being said on a certain channel just last week. But that's my guy. So show some love over there. As my guy Hyper says, big up my broski each and every time. Big up to Hyper. You already know what it is. Smash that like button, as he says, on your way in. Don't take a second. Don't cost a thing. Make sure you smash the likes. And as Justin says here, he's got to get past AZ. Damn, I got to work right now, but good luck on the show. Justin, no worries, man. It's always a pleasure having you here. Next time, one time, we're going to get you on the call-in show. I think I'm going to do them every 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, if you're available on a Monday night, let's see if we can make it happen. But we have our first caller in the building. It's my guy. It's a regular. Someone who is in the chat and told everyone to big up. Eugene, how you doing, bro?
What's up, Jords? I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. As I said, I'm not thriving, just surviving. But it is what it is. It is what it is right now. It's sort of the thrill of being a Spurs fan, I suppose.
Yeah, man. I'm just chilling. Like, the stress is gone. I was stressing earlier in the season when I thought, we had some aspirations that we had a
Yeah,
chance to win something. Now it's basically, the league is done. Europe, we're barely hanging on. So, it's a big
do you
game.
think that sometimes that's as much as I hate to say it, like you're glad that you're finally at this point because like
Oh, yeah,
I think one of the hardest things is being an optimistic fan like myself is just always buying back in. I'm sure you're the same, Eugene. Like you buy back in, like you have a little glimpse of hope. And you're like, yeah, I'm back, and then they let you down, and then they do it again, and then they let you down. Are you finally at the point where you're just like, yeah, the season's done,
for sure.
no
For sure.
pressure?
Man, all my WhatsApp groups this whole season, man, just all the debates, and I was arguing engine, edge out, all that
Yeah,
nonsense, and it was just like emotionally draining. Now I'm at a point where you know what? Now I think I can finally look at the season objectively. I can look at the team
yeah,
objectively because I'm not as emotionally like invested. Obviously, I want us to win, Europa. That's a big one. I
yeah,
don't think we will, but as far as the season goes now, since like I'm not as stressed anymore, now I can look at Ange, I can look at the team, and actually like say like, hey, I can see our issues right now more than when I was like all in, right? Just
yeah.
like you, I was optimistic. I was like super like, hey, we're gonna get this done. I'm all like, I'm behind Ange, I'm behind the boys. Now I'm taking a step back, and I think I can see the flaws with both the
Yeah.
players and the manager.
I think that's a bit where I've come to as well. Is I think this weekend was the nail in the coffin where we really started to realize like top half of the tables, it's not even a chance. Like
Right,
we're definitely not getting top half. Europa League last week, that 1-0 loss was again sort of another nail in the coffin where you get that realization. It's like, yeah, we're not winning this.
bro.
We're
For
not winning
me,
this.
that game, it was funny too because we had a week off and I forgot how dusty we are. And then that game on Thursday, I had high expectations for. I don't know why. I'll be like, you know what? Like we're gonna go in, everybody's healthy, or at least some players are back. We're gonna put in a good shift. That was honestly one of, if not the worst performance I've seen in a long, long time. Like no shots on goal, like one shot on goal, completely toothless. Like our front line is toothless. So now I'm like, even if we win next, on Thursday, there's no way we're gonna beat any decent team in Europa, just given the way we play. So I'm like, yeah,
So toothless at the front. What do
oh
you
man,
think? I mean, trying to find solutions, I suppose. Just again, looking at it objectively, let's take our Ange in, Ange out, hats off. What does the manager do? Like, what is the solution to the attacking issue? Do you think the main problem is just the way that we set up tactically, or do you think that the profiles we have in the team just don't gel well enough?
man, it's both. And like that was the question I had for you. What doesn't make sense to me is after 2 years of Eng ball, like what do they do in like in training? Because sometimes they come out and we look good. I see the patterns of play. I see what we're trying to do. Sometimes, as on Thursday, we're clueless. It
Yeah,
seems like nobody knows where to be, and like to me it makes no sense how we can look good one week and next week the players completely have no idea what to do.
yeah,
And like to me, like it doesn't make sense. So for me it's like they should know what Ange wants from them. Is it just like our players are low IQ players where when it's up to them to improvise and to play off of each other they can't? I'm not sure what the issue is. Like
no,
why do we look
that's what
slow?
I would guess if I had
And
to
the
guess.
midfield especially, like the front line it's toothless, but like the midfield I was expecting, Bentancur, Bissouma and Sar, they've played with each other for long enough where they should know what to do. And
Yeah,
Bergval again, like when he comes on, he makes mistakes, but at least with him, I see some passion. I see he tries to push the ball forward. He tries to make something happen. Everybody else, they're just floating around, like jogging around. And I have no idea what do they do in training and why after 2 years they just look lost at times.
Yeah, that's for me some of the biggest questions, I suppose, is when I watch Tottenham, I think like you mentioned, is some of the players I think are just low IQ. I think they don't have the ability to take their own initiative at times in the final third and just create for themselves. Like missing that little bit of arrogance. Because even Odegaard, when I was looking at on the weekend, it's like Odegaard does some really good stuff. He can beat his man. He can present an option. He gets on it and he's dropping his shoulder. You know, giving the defender questions and sort of question himself as to what he should do. But when he gets into that final third, sort of that in that box, that 18-yard box where you need to make the decision whether you're going to cut in and shoot, cut in and cross, or what you're going to do with that final ball, he's just missing. He's missing that little bit of that belief in himself, for one, as to what if he wanted to go and take it on himself. He doesn't have the arrogance, but also it's like it's just shy. He's naturally a younger kid, so he doesn't have the confidence to make that decision and be like, this is the one I'm going for. So he's always just trying to work out, find the best players, trying to pass it off. And a few times it looks like he's just ended up kicking out a player just for the sake of it, sort of to show like, I tried to put it in the box. And I think by case that's on the players, but also it's by design, because the manager asked these players, work the ball to the byline, because we see it consistently. And they're always working it to the byline, but then there's no one in. There's no outlets inside the box.
Yeah.
You might have Solanke, but it seems like everyone's making the same run. So it's just, like you said, I think it's a bit of both. There's a bit of both. You can look at the players, you can look at the manager, but ultimately, it's just not working. The combination of the two isn't working.
Yeah. It just looks like a pickup game, like just some 11 guys for the first time playing with each other, and they just have no idea what each is doing. And like, to me, it just makes no sense. And just the players, individual players, their skill sets are not like, they don't fit what Ange's trying to do.
Yeah.
And that's why, I question transfers and who was in charge of transfers. Just like, it doesn't make sense. Like, when I see Sonny play, he's just shocking. Johnson, man, that cross when Solanke got hurt, when Johnson made that cross, that has to be the worst cross I've ever seen in my life. Like, you're a professional player. Not only you don't sprint back and forth, you can't even put in a decent cross. Like what are we doing here? It's mental.
It wasn't good. It wasn't a good look at all. And big up to Touchline Facts coming through, another call-in show, making another appearance. Good to have you, my bro. We are speaking about Spurs now, so we can ask some questions about your club and your performance in the weekend later. But just speaking on Spurs, first of all, did you watch the Spurs game?
No, I didn't.
All right,
I saw the result. I didn't watch it. So I know you was 2-0 down. I heard you. People came in my chat and said that you were lucky or something, that you should have lost.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we didn't deserve the goals that we got. We got a bit fairly lucky to get those goals. It was a cross from Pat Sarr that ended up creeping in at the back post. Well, some would say it was a cross, some would say it was a shot. The way he angled his body was definitely a cross for me. But at the end of the day, there was no one to pass to at the back post, so it was a bit confusing. It looked like just a horrible cross into the box that ended up going in the post, and then obviously the second one was a penalty. So looking at the result, I mean, I'm sure you would have been of the thought process in that Tottenham was expected to lose that game, right? Because
I said Bournemouth would win. I thought 2 or 3-1.
So, do you think that's a good result for Ange?
No, it's not a good result. It's a draw. But you know what I
mean? Like, if you expect Ange,
but like, if we go away to Crystal Palace and lose them, or draw them 1-1 or something, you're not going to say, "Oh, Man United." Because you expected them to happen. Like, that's me.
I know what you're doing of like the size of club, but I'm talking about as compared to the expectation of where the club is at right now. So just looking at where
he's done 400 million, so he should be able to beat.
No, but then you're doing the YouTube thing, is where let's run the agendas, and we're doing question time, and we're actually trying to look at it objectively. Big up to
listen,
we got E in the building.
Hang about, George. You said your own words that Spurs are the best attack in the league. So do you know what I mean? What is it?
No, again, but you're doing doing that thing. You're trying to do the agenda thing. We're not doing agendas right now.
I'm doing
We're
the
doing
agenda thing.
football
I
talk.
don't think it's
That's
a good
why I've
result.
asked you. No, but you are. You're doing the agendas because you're taking it back to, you said this 6 months ago. You said this.
Yeah.
I don't care about what's been said. We're evaluating the situation for what it is right now and looking at it right now. If Bournemouth were expected to beat Spurs in your eyes because Bournemouth's a better team than Tottenham right now.
No. I wouldn't say Bournemouth were expected. I expected them to win, but I wouldn't go into saying I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs won. I wouldn't have been surprised if Spurs did win the game. But I just expected Bournemouth because I know you lot how you are. You're just not good. That's why. But I don't to explain it. I wouldn't say it's a good result, a draw. I don't.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. We got Ian here. Obviously, we haven't caught up since the game with regards to the actual result and what it means for Spurs. So, I suppose, what did you think of that result holistically? And I mean, what does that do for you for Ange? And how is he still in the job?
Nothing. Don't really do much. I mean, no matter what the result is, it wasn't going to change the season. Wasn't going to change our expectation. We've already done enough to not get relegated, so it's not even a worry no more. It's just a nothing game, innit? So that's how I treated it. I'm not gonna lie. There were times where I'd spend like 2-3 minutes not even watching the game. I'd be looking at chat because what's the point? Who cares? Who cares, bro? Yeah. You know, we're 2-0 down. I was like, who cares, man? Obviously, credit to the players for showing a fight, coming back, making it 2-2. I have to give the players credit there, but you know what I'm saying? We needed the fight early in the season too, man. So. It's just a game. It's just another game. You know, what else can we say? Just another game.
Just look. No, I get that. So just look, like taking it, like, all right, forget about Tottenham. I want to focus on Ange here in particular.
Yeah.
Well, let me try and pose the question a bit better. What do you think needs to be done to see Ange sacked at this point? Because as I was sort of saying when I first started the stream, I think it's fair to say he's got a lot more chance than any other manager at Spurs within the recent years. What do you think needs to happen or will happen before Ange gets sacked?
We have to be on the same trajectory next season for him to get sacked.
So you think he stays this season no matter what he sees out?
Yeah, no matter what he sees out this year. I don't really necessarily have a problem with it at this point because what manager's going to come in and like, bro, the season's done anyway. So what's the point in bringing in a manager now? Where you can just have Ange to the end of the season, see if he can pick up some stuff here and there and go towards the end of the season, see what's going on in it. But if we're on the same kind of trajectory in terms of how bad the football is and the results is the main thing. If we're still losing games, like in this kind of manner, that's when he gets sacked in it. But he's safe for the season.
Okay. And Eugene, bringing you in here, what do you think? Do you think he's safe for the season? Or gone?
Yeah, no. I agree with E. At this point, it doesn't matter if it's him or Ryan Mason. Like, the league is done. Europe is going to be done in a bit. So whether it's him or not, we're not going to bring anybody else in. The time to sack Ange was in December, if that's what the club wanted to do before the transfer window. But now you might as well reevaluate where we are when the season is over. I don't think anymore he's the guy for us for the future, but it doesn't make sense to sack him right now. It's not going to do, it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah, fair enough. Touchline, what do you think? I mean, from an outside perspective, do you think Ange's even done enough to get sacked, or do you think he deserves the time to see out the rest of the season? And
he's done more than enough to be sacked, but I don't see the point. Like, even if you sack him, you're not going to get much better. Like, you're going to get what, 6th, maybe. You might get 7th place. I just don't see the point. Like, I don't see the point. I don't think you're going to go anywhere. You know what I mean? Well, whether you got Daniel Levy running the club, I don't think it's. I don't see the point personally. Like, at least with Man United, we'll win a few trophies or something if we sack the manager. Might get a winner in or something like that, get a nice boost. With Spurs, it's going to be, you might get a 6th place next season. Who are you going to get in as well? Like, who can Spurs actually get in? Because I hate Areola, but is any proof is any good?
That's a good question. Save that one. That's a good question because we're going to go on to who we could bring in before. But shout out to my guy Yasir TV.
Big up everyone.
Joining the show.
Big up.
It's good. It's got a good little panel here building together. for the calling show. Some regular faces. Yasir, I'm sure you may have heard the question, but if you haven't already, what does Ange need to do to get sacked? If you think he deserves getting sacked, and if you don't think he deserves to get sacked, do you think he should see out the season and into next season?
It's strange, isn't it? Because the way his football is it's very profile based. Like he needs specific profiles. And if he's not gonna get those profiles, then there's no point having him in there. Do you get what I'm saying? If you're just gonna get random players that might not suit his profile, like you're just shopping around just to shop for the club, and then even if he goes, you might have players that might not suit whoever's coming in next unless they get someone who suits the players. So for me personally, if he's gonna stay, specifically, obviously as well, without to the end of the season and onwards, then obviously they also have to back him. We've seen some of that backing in January, and I have to be honest, I didn't expect that. I don't know about you. I thought it was going to be one of them just quiet Januaries like everyone else. He did get like a defender and stuff, but it's like what I meant with the profiles, like you need a Van der Ven to sweep up, because the high line and blah blah blah. So either he has to kind of adapt and kind of change his system slightly, or he's gonna kind of end up just going to the end of the season, and then it just depends on how bad it gets. Because we've seen how bad it's gotten now, but he's still staying. I believe that he's going to be there to the end of the season, but then for me, it depends. For me, like depending on what happens in the summer, you'll get kind of an idea of how the rest or the next season will be for them. If that kind of makes sense. Either it's gonna just go downhill, and then you get rid of him and manager whatever, and then he'll be one of the managers that get sacked in Christmas. Do you get what I'm saying? Because the results kind of carry on usually.
Do you think that there's a risk though? Because for me, the way that I'm starting to judge this is we've come into 2 seasons with Ange. Once we evaluate at the end of the season, we're going to look at potentially, the games played will be in the region of 88 Premier League games, something around that, maybe a little bit more. At the moment, he's already lost 30 Premier League games or something like that. He's on like...
Be 76, no?
Pardon?
It'd be 76 Premier League games, no?
No, when the season's finished.
Yeah, because he's 38 twice.
So yeah, whatever the numbers is, the maths is gonna math. But I know he's already halfway. Like he's at this moment in time in Spurs' career, he's got like 80 games played, 34 wins, or 40 wins, 41 wins, 34 defeats, or something like that. I know. Yeah, I saw the stat yesterday when I was watching the game. So right now we're at danger of potentially, for one, in the Premier League, we've got our worst defeats in this decade, in this century, not even decade, in this century, the most amount of defeats we've ever had before. We're looking at 2 seasons of now regressing, because we went from 4th under Conte to then, yes, we finished 8th or whatever it was that season where we had Stellini and all these, man. But we had 4th that season before, so clearly the team showed a certain level. And then 5th, and then whatever, 12th or 13th. Surely the manager can't get another year after going 5th, 13th, and then another 5th or 6th. Are we going to accept being a Europa League side at that point? This question out to the panel.
I mean, well, it's not even regress. I mean, we are regressing, but the issue is that everybody around us is getting better, and we're staying in one place. So all the teams, Villas, I know they're struggling, but they're better. Newcastle, they're better. The issue with Ange is just I haven't seen enough improvement. And for an offensive manager, not only is our defensive shape terrible every single game, but we cannot score goals anymore.
Yeah.
So you can say, yeah, it's the players, but if he comes out and says, I approve all the players, even though I don't believe him, but if for PR purposes he says, yep, I approve Johnson, I wanted Solanke, whatever, Timo, ignore Timo, right? So if he stands behind the players that are coming in and we cannot score goals and he's supposed to be an offensive manager, like it just doesn't wash for me. We're not getting any better. The only thing that's left for me is to see the youngsters improve. But I'm concerned that, for example, we don't play Archie Gray at a 6, which is criminal. I don't understand why. right? Bergval is doing okay, but I just feel like given where we are, we're not going to buy elite players, so we need a coach who can coach the youngsters.
Coach the youngsters to be
That
better.
might
And
be
this is
good
the
in 2
thing,
years
though,
or so.
Eugene.
But right
Don't
now,
you
I just, I don't see it.
don't you think one of the biggest concerns as a Spurs fan though is Ange says, like you said, for me, like this Ange's got himself in a lot of this trouble because, like you said there, he says a lot of things. He's one of these guys that just talk a lot of game, but when it comes to doing stuff, it falls apart. He said to us he wants loads of young players so they're easier to coach, they're easier to manipulate. He didn't verbatim say manipulate, but ideally, young players don't have as strong minds or as strong feelings about ways of playing, so they can be manipulated in a way because they're going to be more impressionable. So if he comes out and says he wants all these young players, we've signed all these young players and we've signed a load of them, and they're not performing to the level required, and he's not necessarily coaching them to be better. Is this not a problem that we're going to continuously have? Because I'm sure you guys have looked at the summer targets, and the summer targets just continue to be Nico Paz, Tyler Diblin, and all these
It's
other
hard to
young.
get younger, fam. Start to get even younger.
It's getting younger and younger.
Bro, Archie Gray is barely old enough to drink, and we're already looking at his younger brother. Like, what's going on, fam?
No, and the crazy thing is, look, he didn't bring the coaching staff with him. So who are the coaches who are coaching these youngsters? Ryan Mason and Jedinak? Like, I'm not confident that the coaching staff is good enough. And it seems like Ange is more of a manager where he delegates. So, and he doesn't have the coaching team who can implement exactly what he wants to do. So I'm not confident that we'll be able to coach up our youngsters at this point.
It just seems like it's just a bunch of weird stuff. Because I heard you saying earlier, Eugene, about not questioning the IQ of the players, but in terms of what Ange wants to do in terms of pass and move and rotate and all that stuff. You're not going to get that level of IQ from young players. Like, it's not going to, unless it's like a phenomenon, like, like a young Iniesta or some shit. Like, you're not going to get that. It's not something that you come across. It's a once in a generational type of IQ, especially if you're going to be 18 to 21 years old. At that point, you need experience. Now, we already know that Levy's not going to go pay for experience, so it makes sense to develop the younger players. But then again, as you also said, Eugene, we're not putting the younger players in a position to succeed. Like even Bergval, yes, he's playing in his natural position, but all the midfielders are isolated out there. Like none of the players are coming to the ball. They're all running away from the ball, and they're expecting us to build out from the back. It's not going to happen. The fullbacks inverting, giving the midfielders no space. That's also another issue. Archie Gray obviously playing as a defender. He was bought to play there, but he's not a defender. Like we see it. How many times we got to watch him play as a defender to know he's not a defender? We know it already, but again, that's down to the manager constantly playing him there. Even when we have centre-back options, he's still playing in defence. So at this point, I've kind of given up on that notion. So it's a lot of things where it's like the system is just we put so many people up front to attack, yet we also have no one in the box, which is where everyone's just camped around the area. That's really the issue. Like we don't. Even Solanke, who's a target man, is dropping deep to help the play. And what happens? You have players like Sarr going forward. How many times, has Sarr been on the pitch and he's the one getting the chance in the box? It happens game after game. It happened against Bournemouth. Right before he scored that goal, that chance he had in the box.
Oh my
man
God.
Sent it to the corner flag. He sent it to the corner flag.
Wow.
Against Wolves, he has a last-minute header right in front of the people, and he misses it. Against Man City, another chance falls to Sarr in the box. Like his movement, his shadow runs into the box are so good, but he can't shoot. He can't shoot. If we have
He's not an attacking player, innit?
But it makes no sense how he's always in the right position. Attacking one, he's always where the striker should be, where Solanke should be. That's where Sarr ends up being, and he can't shoot. And it's just things like when you move around all the players, when you do all this pass and move, all this freedom football, people will find themselves in positions where they're not good. Sarr's not good at shooting. He's not an attacker. That's not his forte. But because we're passing around, moving so much, he finds himself there. There's so many times where you'll find maybe a Jed Spence like in a place where he'd still be good there, but it's not his strong suit. Like we need to use these players to their strong suit. And all this moving around, all this pass and move, all this rotation, it's not good for these players because a lot of these players are just squad players. They're not free roam players. That we don't have 24 Kulusevskis in the squad. We don't have that. These players need to be able to fit. They're all role players. Like, I'll put it that way. They're all role players. We need them to play their role, and putting them in positions where they can't do what they do best is just, it basically ends up with what this season we have in it. 15th, bro. That's where we end up.
But like what you said, if it's the youngsters, I agree. But players like Madison, Bissouma, Bentancur, they're senior players. So I expected from them that, and they played with each other for a year now, they should be able to do better, right? If it's Bergvall and Gray, I agree. But Bissouma, Madison, Bentancur, even Sarr, their movement off the ball, the patterns of play, we should do better in the midfield, but they don't. Bissouma is atrocious. I don't want to see him, like in the Spurs team ever again. Madison is just letting me down. So again, are they bad players? No. Are they elite players? No. They're okay players, right? But they should be good enough to dominate average teams, and they don't.
They should be, I get it. But when the tactics are this weird to the point where the young players with energy, we can't see it no more. So I have to keep it consistent for all players, because if you're old enough to wear the shirt, you're old enough to get criticized. That's always what I say in it. And as much as I've been known to having smoke for younger players and all this kind of stuff, I have to also give them credit in a sense where they'll bring the energy and stuff. Like we see a lot from Bergvall, even though I don't think he's that techie of a player, he brings the work rate. So that's something I have to give him credit for.
Do you know what? In fact, now we're here. Let's address that. No, let's address that. You think I didn't see your Bergvall trying to sleep Bergvall the other day, trying to say, "Oh, all he does is just look good on the pitch." Oh, the guys think he's good because they fancy him. You think I didn't see all of that? E? What are we doing here? That's your boy Madison.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
No, that's your boy Madison.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Have you seen Twitter, bro?
Madison. People think Madison's good because he does a silky turn. He looks good when he turns. He could do an outside of the foot pass. Oh, look how good he does a Cruyff turn. That's what people love about
I've never said that about Madison. That's them, man, innit? I've never said that.
That is what people like about Madison. Like, there isn't nothing
that's
else.
What people who don't watch. That's what highlights.
Madison gets GA, bro. What are you talking? Madison's like 10 goals this season in the league.
Madison's they like the highlight people like that. The highlight fans like Madison doing that shit.
Yeah, that's what love it is. That. But what does like Madison? What he does that's literally carried his whole season is score a couple goals. Most of the goals he scores haven't been important, by the way. Like, let's have
in a few games.
Well, no goals,
but the whole season hasn't been important. So what does that mean?
No, but when I mean important goals, I mean he will score a consolation goal at the end of the game. He might score a goal that again when the game's already shifted, we've gone 2-1 up, he might get the third goal. That's the time in like a 4-1 win. Yeah, 2 against City. And who was the best player on the pitch that day? Who was the best player on the pitch against you guys? Kulusevski. Yeah, you're damn right. It was Kulusevski in both of those games because Madison, our prime creator, didn't do his job. But back to my point on Bergvall. Bergvall's literally been, for the last 3 months, when you could say Kulusevski, I think the performances haven't necessarily dropped off a cliff, but I feel like you can tell he's been a lot leggy as to why we see him get injured just 2 weeks ago. But wouldn't you agree, E, that Bergvall's been the one mainstay, as in he's done his job in the whole of the midfield, covering ground, yeah? Again, what we like from Sarr is the fact that he gets up and down the pitch. Bergvall's doing that. He's tenacious. So he's never shying away from a challenge. You can never deny his passion for that badge because he's showing it week in, week out on the pitch. On the ball, even when you look just yesterday at that performance, as soon as he come on, the only player making those forward passes, trying to dribble forward, literally the only player brave enough to take a shot. And then when he did it, hit the post. Like, everything about Bergvall game, haven't you seen, has taken steps forward over the last few months. So how can you even criticize him and not rate what he's doing right now? Please.
Oh my days, bro. I have to call him baby step Bergvall, bro, because these steps, I don't know what steps you're talking about. But I mean, hey, look, if Sarr can score a long shot, so can Bergvall, fam. You know what I'm saying? I don't see no one talking about Sarr's technique, his skill on the ball.
Are you calling that a long shot yesterday? Is that what you're trying to say? You're calling that a shot, not a cross?
No, that was a cross. Sarr scored a long shot against Man City as well in the Carabao Cup, so he scored a long shot too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, hey, look, Bergvall, this is about Bergvall, yeah? The man is overrated, all right? Let's say this right now, yeah? He's overhyped, bro. The midfield, yeah, that we have, we're looking at Bentancur, Bissouma, and Sarr, and we're seeing Bergvall come in and work harder than them, and we're like, oh my god, this guy's.
He's also a lot better on the ball than them.
It's the arrogance too. Like for an 18-year-old to be the bravest player on the pitch, not to be afraid. Where you see Bissouma,
I know, but this isn't Robin Hood, fam. Like what does he do with the football that should maybe be like, all right, cool.
He pushes the ball forward. At least he's looking for that pass. Look, Sarr
he loses
is what,
the ball just as much though.
Sarr has not improved in 4 years. His stack is the same as when he was 18.
But this is what I'm saying though. Like these midfielders that we have at the club, they're so bad that they make Bergvall look good. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, how many times have we?
Sometimes, yeah, it's weird. Yeah, sometimes experienced players don't do certain things. Yeah, because they're confused. Like, it's a weird one. Like, if they don't understand the system, but they have experience, like they feel like they should be doing something else, but they're doing this. Does that make sense? Then it's like they just do the simple things. Because remember, experienced players, when they make mistake, we're all gonna cost them, yeah, because we know the experience. The younger kid will take more risks because he kind of doesn't have a lot to lose in some sense. Yeah, I'm not saying that the rest of them don't, but it's like he's just trying to do whatever he can so he can get that starting spot. You know what I mean? He's putting everything on that. And I agree with you as well what you said earlier about the pass and move thing and all the young players knowing where to play and all that. Because I had it on my team as well. Like with younger players, they have to be coached. That's where the coaching thing comes from. Because they don't really, especially when they come in early, they don't always understand where to be, especially with all these managers now to have this compass football. I'll call it chess football. You know, it's very complicated. You know what I mean? It's not simple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we have Gusto at right back, but I always said he's a simple right back, traditional right back. He just runs up and down. But this manager wants him to. He only knows the 10 times table, but he wants him to do algebra. You got to invert and do this, and that. Not every player can do it. It depends on their IQ, innit? And sometimes some of these managers, and I think I heard you lot say it. Now, not you lot, but Tottenham fans say it before. I think was it Porro that was inverting or was playing?
Yeah. Porro's been inverting all
Not
season.
everyone can do it. Some of these players just suit certain things, innit? And it's obviously on the manager to make sure that he puts them in the right positions and even kind of adjust the team in a way where it suits them. With the midfielders thing is a bit weird because you do have players that we could kind of consider as good players, like Bentancur is not really that bad. Do you know what I mean? Like if you look at midfield, he's not bad. Basuma, we all wanted, like all of us wanted him before Caicedo, because remember he was the guy before Caicedo. Now there's Baleba, right? Do you know what I mean? They bring a new guy every year. So now with Basuma, it's like when you look at Basuma, it's like, is he tired? Because with Maddison, it looks like he don't really want to be there no more.
Thing is, confidence is just
we've
gone,
seen Maddison for the last couple of years, yeah, at other clubs and that. But what he's doing at Tottenham, it doesn't really look like the Maddison we've seen before. Do you get what I'm saying? He's just there on the pitch. He looks at the time, 90 minutes, he just jumps off. You know them ones? He just does a little.
We had someone in the chat trying to defend him. The Right Show, big up to Right. So I know he started his own channel as well. So if you guys want to go show some love to him over there. It says Madders can't create chances for players who don't make runs or finish the move off. Do you think that, I suppose, from an outside perspective, do you think Maddison's been hounded by the system and the fact that the players in front of him aren't helping him, like Wright said, with the runs and the movement that they're doing? Or just like me, do you think that Maddison just isn't performing? Like he's not doing the job that he was brought in to do because he's supposed to be a superstar player?
I think it's both. I think one of, obviously, in the 10, yeah, remember he used to have Vardy and all those runners that he used to have in front of him. Obviously, now he ain't got Solanke. Solanke's not fit, isn't he? I ain't seen him for ages.
No, Solanke played the last 2 games. Or the last...
I've been away. I was at Norway. I literally just came in like an hour ago, bro. You know what I mean? I barely watched a few games recently. But I know that usually with 10s, if they ain't got runners, the game can bypass them easily, bro. Do you know what I mean? It's just like they look forward, there's no one there, or there's no run or whatever, and they just keep doing it sideways, backwards and that. And then all of a sudden, it's like, you ain't seen that player.
It's like Odegaard.
is a bit, no, but Odegaard does the circle thing where he dribbles around
the
in the
turn and then
circle.
cute little turns and then passes
I'll tell you,
sideways.
players who are so overly reliant
But
on one foot is
with
crazy.
Maddison, I don't always see an option for him to pass forward unless there's like a Kulusevski on the wing, and then he kind of tries to end up being in the box.
Don't you think when
But
Maddison
then
had
look at it though,
issue,
he has Brennan Johnson on the right. Either what's the guy? Son, who's not the son of old, obviously. And the other guy, what's his name?
Odegaard.
Our old guy, Timo Werner, and that.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? He doesn't always have like. It's not like we're looking at him now. But obviously, I think you got to tell as well. But that's just recently come in. Like, if you really look at it, he doesn't have that many players here that you can think of. They'll take their chances, innit? Like that. So I don't really blame him 100%. I know he hasn't been performing, so I'm not gonna say he's been performing, but you man done him dirty. Not like that, innit? But
No, they have. No, keep saying.
But I just don't feel
No,
like
because
he doesn't look like he's there. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
but you're like a Madders sympathizer because
I'm not.
As much as you sit here and say
I'm an
that
empathizer. It's a difference. I'm an empathizer. It's a difference.
Wouldn't you say that Madders at Leicester, when he didn't have the runners in front of him, what would he do? He'd ras it from 30 yards out and he'd score a goal. Or he'd take the opposite. Like that, Maddison had that arrogance back then, as if, if you guys ain't gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. At Spurs, it's just like he doesn't want to do it.
But look at how the man's been treated, bro. Like, he's been cast aside pretty much by Ange. And then the fans hate him as well, bro. Like, look at what happens to Basuma. Basuma's confidence, I'm not saying he's good enough or even at his best he's good enough to play for the club, but Basuma's confidence is gone, fam. Like, he don't even want to do nothing on the pitch because rightfully so. To be fair, his performances have been terrible, but he's also been hounded by this club, fam.
He's had,
and the
bro,
fans,
Basuma's had 3 years.
You're making excuses, my friend. No, you're making look, as a 27-year-old player, like, you have to step up. When you're in the pitch, you have to do something. If not,
what does step
how
up
many
mean?
mistakes?
What does that mean, Eugene? What does that mean?
He cost us 4 games by himself with his.
But what does step
passes.
up mean, though? Like, what does that mean?
Or at least not make silly mistakes that cost us games. Not only he doesn't help us.
And when does Maddison do that?
No, but with Maddison though, look, if you look at performances against Tamworth or these club, these teams that are at the bottom of the table with us, when we play against the low block, we're looking for somebody to take control of the game, for an elite player to actually carry the team. Son cannot do it anymore, so Maddison should be that guy like Eriksson. He should be the lock picker. Tamworth against the Plumbers, he didn't do anything. Against low blocks, he doesn't do anything. He floats around.
Let me ask you this then. Let me ask you then, Eugene. Tamworth, I'll give you, he was horrible in that game, innit? So I'm not defending him for Tamworth. He was horrible, and Kulu came on and saved him, innit? That's facts, 100%. Against low blocks, right? This is where it gets me, innit? There's no one else on the team that can pick our low block. That's been a problem the whole season. Whole strength, full strength, not full strength. Bro, other players don't see the same criticism though. That's the problem I really have. Maddison deserves criticism.
What players 100%. Do you expect to see the same criticism? Because if you're expecting Bergvall to have the same criticism, all right. But what would you criticize Kulusevski for this season? That's what I'd love to know.
But the whole point
he's legit been one of the best players in the league creatively.
But as you said, the season don't matter. So what's the point?
No, but last season when Kulusevski was bad, he was catching all kinds of strays from the fans.
And to be fair, I wasn't doing YouTube, so I don't expect any of this to know this. But I was supervising with Kulu because I know his talent and he wasn't being used correctly. This is something that I don't have this undying thing towards Maddison. I just don't like the inconsistencies that the fan base has. That's why when it comes to Maddison, the stuff don't matter. But when it comes to Kulu, the stuff matters. When it comes to other players, the stuff matters. It's just weird to me.
You know why?
It's almost I don't like the guy, fam.
My bias against Maddison is when we brought him in, I was so excited. I guess my expectations for him were so high that it's just really disappointing that he doesn't do what I thought he would do. Same thing with Romero. My expectations for him were so high that now when I see him play, I'm just get really disappointed with performance.
And I understand that. That makes sense.
So maybe my energy for Maddison is not like my energy for Bentancur, Johnson over
Yeah.
Sarr, because I expected way more from him. He was supposed to be our vice captain. He was supposed to be that guy who took us to the next level. And from what I've seen, I just don't think he has the personality or he has, the leadership. I don't think he has it to be the main guy on the team. He's a good supporting player. He's a good, in NBA terms, second, third option, but he's not that number one option that's going to carry you. And that's what's upsetting to me. And that's why
I fully understand that. I fully understand that. And you're not wrong when you say that. I would also say that Kulu's not a number one option either.
Oh, for sure.
So I would say that. One thing I've always said is Maddison and Kulu has to be in the team together. I get so annoyed when Tottenham fans do this Maddison versus Kulu thing because it gives the impression that one has to go and one has to stay.
Team together, though.
They can. Our best football is when they're in the team together, though.
No, you've seen a few good games with them playing together, but
that's basically the best of our season. How much more of our season has been a few good games?
We had a good game against Man City, but Man City with Rodri, that wouldn't have worked. The Maddison and Kulu would have got shut out that game if they had Rodri. Because when you come up against a team that's actually got a really good number 6, let's just say, not even a really good number 6, then their whole midfield structure is going to be a lot better. So when you're playing with Kulu and Madders, you've got two players that are overexposing us, then we don't have a good number 6. We're just going to leave Bentancur left there all by himself, like we do, like our system does.
Is that Maddison's fault, or is that the club's fault for not bringing in?
But also it's the manager's fault for playing that way and not putting in profiles in the team that balance each other well. But also it's Maddison's fault, as in Maddison's not an 8. You can't play him as an 8 and expect him to do the 8's role, because when you look at Bergvall and you look at Sarr, they do what an 8 needs to do, box to box. Maddison's not box to box. So how can you expect him to play next to Kulu if he's not willing to do the box to box job? Unless you're going to ask Kulu to do the box to box job.
Because I believe the manager's tactics are horrible, fam. That's the point. But if you have Shaq and Kobe on the team, are you going to tell Shaq to take middies, bro? Or are you going to tell him get his big ass in the paint and dunk the ball?
No, I get that. You know what I'm saying? Also, you sometimes you can't play two play. You wouldn't play Kobe and Michael Jordan together. They just wouldn't work together. They both want the ball too much. The
problem is that Kobe and Mike are two of the same type of player. Maddison and Kulu aren't.
But
they're not the same type.
But they're the same type of player, as in they play the same position. They both need the ball a lot to their feet, and they need to be the main creators for their team.
No, they don't, bro. They don't. They play so differently.
Kulu thrives when he gets a lot of the ball.
Maddison is a ball retainer. Kulu is a ball progressor. They're completely different.
No, but
don't you think, Jords? But Jords, don't you think, with two completely different styles of attacking midfielders in our team, we could actually have one of the most dynamic offenses in the league? You don't believe that?
If you're willing to rotate, but again, I don't think Maddison wants to take a rotation role. Also, I just don't think Maddison has the required quality to play the role that you're saying. For me, is like you say, there's a lot of pressure on Maddison. For one, is because when he came into Spurs, let's have it right, he was given the captain's armband. That was it. It wasn't. He was brought in. It was okay alongside Sonny. He made himself have that senior name, senior position within that changing room straight away, or Pally with Harry. Oh, he got Harry's number. Yeah. Oh, and now you're coming in as club captain. There's gonna be an expectation for you to perform. First 10 games of the season last year, everyone was amazed. We're all going, Madders, this is exactly what we bought you for. And then since then, the level of performance never been the same. So do you not expect that he would be the guy that's getting most of the slack for this team right now? Because again, he's captain and his performance level hasn't been the same.
He deserves it, but so does Kulusevski and the rest of the senior players. That's my point. I find it funny. No, I find it funny, that we all agree that the manager's tactics we're playing all these players to their weaknesses. The tactics are not good. The tactics are some of the biggest reasons why we're losing games. But we also expect the players on the pitch to overcome these tactics and perform to their best ability. That shit don't make no sense to me, which is why, again, people on this YouTube thing are playing favorites to their players. That's what it is. I just keep it simple. I believe the players are a lot better.
Problem, but also the players can be as well.
But if you don't put the players in the position to succeed, then the results are going to show that. I believe, right, that every single player in our squad, is a lot better than what they're showing. That includes Basuma, that includes Bentancur, that includes Porro. Whether or not we think that they're good enough to compete at a high level consistently, which is what we want, whether you think they're good enough to play for the club or not, they are a lot better than what we are seeing. I put it down to the manager and his tactics. I believe if another coach came in that played these players to their strengths, then we would see a much better individual quality and a much better team quality. So I put it on the manager. Obviously, the players have to go on the pitch and perform. Yes, I get that. And we can heavily criticize Maddison for his lack of performances throughout the season. I'm not trying to turn a blind eye to that. I got 4 eyes for a reason. I see it all. But the problem is that the rest of the players, they're also not performing. And I can't look at that and be like, okay, so all these players aren't performing. I'm going to blame all the players for that? That sounds like an Ashley thing. I'm not Ashley, bro. I'm not blaming all the players.
Look at a player like Jed Spence and you could see, okay, a good player, you can't deny talent and hard work. I can look at a Jed Spence. I can look at a Kulusevski this season. I don't think Kulusevski can get anyone getting onto him because I think he's been flawless. And you know, all these other seasons where people question him, I've maintained, even last year when he wasn't getting the GA, that he was our best creator then. Flawless. He was our best creator before that as well. Even when we had Harry Kane and Son, Kulusevski was our best creator in my eyes. And in that Conte season, he's always been the player that's been most creative for us since he's been at Spurs. And when you talk about senior, he's only 24 years old, so he's been part of that younger squad for the majority of his Spurs time. Only this year you could probably consider and say he's starting to become more of a senior player, and that's only because the signings of Bergvall, Archie Gray have brought our team significantly younger. But outside of that, Kulusevski was considered to be one of our youngest players up until this season anyway. So I feel like when you look at the tactics, you are right. There are definitely problems with the tactics that are taken away from some of the players that we have right now. But you could also look at the players and you can look at some players and be like, regardless, they're not doing good enough. Brennan Johnson, wouldn't you say, regardless of tactics, he's just not good enough, right?
There are players that are not good enough in this squad. I understand that. And if you think Maddison's one of them, I don't have a problem with that. I just think that all the players are better than what we see from this manager. Johnson, for example, he's not even a right winger. He's just the only option we have at right wing that's not Kulusevski. And Kulu's injured. So he's the only option we have at right wing. That's pretty much what it is, isn't it? Yeah. But like, it's just, I just put more stock on the tactics, man. That's what I do, man. It's the tactics and the manager. Like, we'll be playing way better, in my opinion. And I know it was one game a week before, but we came 5th last season. Like, we almost qualified for Champions League. Yes, obviously the 10-game stretch had a lot to do with that, but the same way I'm going to give the players credit for the 10 games they had, and the same way I'm going to use that to compare them to what they're doing now, I have to be honest.
And we remember
we came 5th that season.
We came 5th, but we should have came 4th. The reason we didn't come 4th is because we didn't win any of our last 6 games. We were literally right there to get in Champions League football, and I have to give the players credit. Like, the players can do it. I've seen the players do it, and yes, under different circumstances, I get it. But one thing I will say is, Jed Spence, give Jed Spence 3 months, 3 more months of playing 2 games a week, and he'd be looking suspect as well. That doesn't take away from Jed Spence's quality. It's just that Jed hasn't been playing until like the last few months, so he has more energy than players who've been playing before that. It's just what it is. Bergvall is another case. Archie Gray's young as well. It's just different. It's just different that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of our better performances just haven't played as much. And Kulu, who was great at this, far from flawless in my opinion, but great, our best player by far, getting player of the season shouts, as someone in the chat said at the start. When he comes back from injury, he's not going to look the same either, just because he's played all that time. Like, it's not down to the players for playing all this time, for being the highest pressing team in the league, for running the most out of everyone in the Premier League. It's not down to the players for naturally dropping off in performances because of that, especially someone like Maddison, who isn't that physically capable. So it's either we keep the manager, we keep backing him, we bring in his players, his type of runners like Gallagher and all these man, and we sell the players like Maddison, or we bring in a coach who can have a different style of play, who can utilize these players. Because I believe it's the tactics, personally, because we can't play 2 games a week running around like crazy, pressing. It can work against certain teams, but as we've seen this season, the injuries will happen, we will drop off, we will start losing. We were almost in a relegation fight for like a week because of that. We're getting relegation shouts. The manager's tactics, it ain't it. And I believe it's weird to me
to ask players to do this high pressing, extra running thing. Like it's just weird to me because that's not how you keep up players for a season. Like players have been getting injured everywhere he goes for a reason. It's just weird to me. So I don't blame the players for that.
I hear it, because I've had Poch last season as well, innit? And when you have the managers that are like runners and all that, you need to have a squad. You can't have just an 11. You get it? Because once the 11 gets tired, then the performances drop off or you get major injuries or whatever it is, then you don't have anyone else to really replace that level of quality. Do you get what I'm saying? So what ends up happening is the performances drop kind of overall because the energy levels. Obviously, that's why you were speaking about rotation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when it comes to specific players like performing while others don't, sometimes you can have that in certain positions. It's easier than others. Let's say like when you play a left back or a right back, yes, you can just try to defend all the time and move the ball forward. So it's not as hard as someone in midfield or like a defender in terms of like centre backs because those two are structural based. Do you get it? You're not just relying on one player. You're relying on 3 or 2 if you're playing centre half. Do you get what I'm saying? So if your centre half is good but the other guy is not good, it could just look like they both missing both of them. You get it? You might do some of the things well, like clearing the ball, whatever, but it just doesn't look good as a unit as well. Do you get what I'm saying? Forward, we all know kind of forwards is more. It's more independent creativity. It's not always really reliant on a whole, the front 3 and all that. You get what I'm saying? Yes, there is some kind of chemistry that they need to have or whatever, but you don't really rely on that. Do you get what I'm saying? Not as much as they do in defense and midfield, where if the structure's not right, which you're also talking about the tactics and stuff like that, the players aren't going to look good. In midfield, it's easy for you to just 2 passes and the player not even there, basically. Do you get what I'm saying? Because they don't really know where to be and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, man. I understand what you're saying when it comes to the... But I also think, before you switch, that I do think that Kulusevski has been your best player. As someone
for sure.
from the outside. And especially, I feel like he's the one that stepped up. Not Maddison. You remember you were saying that you don't wanted Maddison to be stepping up. I feel like he's been stepping up more, and every time I watch Tottenham, I feel like he always wants the ball. He always tries to get the ball forward as much as he can, even if it's not necessarily by passes.
You know what you just said? You know what's another reason I don't like Madders as well? Like, man will come out. No. I'm not even that. No. Like, you can forget about playing now. Like, it's the stuff that he does off the field. Like, straight after a game,
he was pouting on the bench when we score goals.
Yeah, like he's for one, when he got subbed off the other day, sitting there all fuming on the bench. Was just like sitting there trying to bitch to Son after he put in an absolute stinker. And then after games, I'm pretty sure there was a game where that game when he got the equalizer. I remember who was it? Was it Man United? Might have been United. We equalized against someone straight away, going straight to the corner to do his little dart celebration. Like, bro, it's an equalizer.
It wasn't United. We scored the first goal.
He scored the first goal, but it was someone else. I remember recently he got the equalizer, ran straight away to do his dart celebration. And also, like, the comments he makes. Remember, he told that guy to shut up in the comments and all that. Shut up, go have a life. Like, all these little things he does. Like, you can do all of this stuff if you're a baller. Yeah, if you're actually doing your stuff on the pitch, no one cares about everything else you're doing outside the pitch. But don't sit here, have shit performances, and then for one, we're hearing as fans, you're turn up to training late and all this stuff. Then you're commenting on telling man to shut up and go have a life. You're sitting there complaining about like the manager on the bench doing up bitching. Like, you can't have this attitude. Come out there, put pressure on players, say the name more stuff and that for Mikey more. Like, you go out there, do all this cheeky stuff. He's like, you want to give it all, but when it comes to actually doing something, you're not doing it. Like,
I still don't know what step up means, bro, when it comes to Maddison.
His ego,
I don't know what step up
is overinflated. He thinks he's better than he actually is. Like, as I said, the West Ham game, it changed my opinion of him. When he was benched, we scored 2-3 goals, and he was fuming on the bench. Like, it's just uncalled for. If you're a leader of the team, you cannot act like that. his ego is overinflated. And ultimately, it's this. I know maybe it's a shallow take, it's optics, but you know, if we lose games, that's fine, it happens. But I want to see all the players put in a shift. Like Kulusevski, even if we lose, I can see he works hard every minute. He tries to make something happen. With Bergvall, when I see Johnson jog around, Son is crying and jogging around, Madison flopping, holding his ankle, Bissouma is, I don't know what he's doing. Like, I just don't see the players actually putting in a shift. And for me, you can lose, and that's fine. I'll be like, you know what? We got outplayed. We're not good enough. But these players, the least you can do is put in a shift and play hard. And I feel like half the team, especially the senior players, they're not putting in a shift game in, game out. And that includes their captain. And that's what annoys me the most. Like, stop crying, stop flopping, stop complaining, just go and play hard. And I don't feel like we have the personalities in
What does putting
Son,
a shift mean, by the way?
Madison. What's that?
No, stop
What does
doing
putting
no,
a
stop
shift
no
mean?
no no
No, because I keep hearing step up, putting
Alright,
shit. What does
Luke's
that mean, bro?
Stepping up is when the
GA,
team
bro.
is looking
Give
to
effort.
someone to
GA.
break down a defense. When the younger players need a leader, stepping up is being that guy. Does that explain it to you?
That doesn't explain how
Basically,
Madison don't do that, bro.
They want him to be the Palmer of us last season.
Yeah.
Where
Well, so
everyone else
carry
is dead,
a
but
team,
he-
basically.
No,
he
do you know what? Look,
Not
don't
to
forget
that
about
level.
Palmer. Let's look at just right now Bruno Fernandes. As much as people don't like Bruno Fernandes as a player and the way that he plays, I think it's been clear to see, especially looking outside, whenever you look at Man United game, who's saving them consistently? It's Bruno. Bruno steps up, he scores a goal, he's taking a long shot. Some people don't like the way he plays because he's constantly doing those long balls. He gets called hero ball, grenade launcher man, and all this stuff. Similar to what we say of Pedro Porro, but he actually gets the job done. He wins Man
For the
United
last
games.
two
He's winning them
games, I
points.
mean,
He
the
also
last, I feel
loses
like there's a lot of
games.
recency bias there. For the last
We
two
can't
games,
though,
sure,
but we
yeah,
can't say
but-
that because Bruno's been this for Man United for the last 5 years. Like literally, Man United are their worst.
No, it's really,
Man United are their worst.
the
And
start-
before it's been Bruno.
The start of Bruno's time there, yeah, sure, but he's been kind of
Even though he's been public enemy number one for a while, I think one thing that has remained is Bruno has saved Man United. You just have to look at like goals and assist wise as well. Like he's getting a goal when they need it. He's getting an assist.
But the
He's
GA
the player
thing don't
getting
work because if we bring
It
up
don't
Madison's
work.
GA, you'll bring up the context to
But
it.
no, but the point
the
is
GA thing alone don't work. That's why I don't use it.
GA, the importance of Bruno's GA in particular is he's saving them games. That's the reference what I'm using. So when they're losing and when they're in a terrible place, he's stepping up. Just yesterday, scoring that free kick. What did Madison do on the free kick against AZ Alkmaar, bro?
That was the worst free kick I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
What
it was a bad free kick.
Bruno done yesterday, what did Madison do? That's the difference.
Okay, here's a question. What would Kulusevski do on the free kick then? What would anyone else on the team do with the free kick? For what reason? For what reason?
Pedro Porro can. Pedro, do you know what? I'd actually Pedro Porro.
No. Don't run. For what reason? For what reason does Kudu not take him?
Why?
Because he's
not
dead
a
at free kicks. That's why.
Wait,
Okay,
so be it.
Pedro Porro
can
step
take free
to the
kicks.
plate and tries to create something for the team.
What did
and
he
gets
do?
slated now.
What did
and
he
now
do?
he gets slated.
He tried a 1-2 on the
man.
Who does a 1-2
double
on
standards,
25
man.
yards out?
But that's his
double
job, though.
standards.
He's a free kick specialist. He's supposed to be that specialist for us. So if you cannot even take free kicks,
I
then
keep
you're supposed to be a
hearing,
specialist.
bro.
Then
And
what?
I remember Jords' stream, yeah, because this is why. Because Jords' stream, yeah, my man was doing up the hypocritical thing, bro. My man's doing the hypocrite. Jords, I want you to tell me what you expect me from Madison. I want you to tell me what you expect from Madison when he steps on the pitch.
I expect a lot from Madison. This is the point. I criticize Madison more than any of our players because my expectation, you can check my tweets when Madison first come in, I was like, yes, this is the player we need.
Yep.
The guy that's going to be the creator, the guy that's going to pull the strings for Tottenham. And he's not done it. I've been more disappointed with Madders than any other Tottenham fan. So when you talk about when I expect him to step up, I expect him in games like AZ Alkmaar where we're 1-0 down to a stupid own goal from Bergvall. Cool, young kid, it happens. Very unlucky goal. But in that game, what was the main problem? We couldn't keep the ball. It's like everyone was making a mistake. Every time we got forward, we're breaking down our own attacks. I look at Madison to go, do you know what? I'm going to make something happen here. I can't dribble past 5 players, but I can ping together a few passes, whether that's doing a 1-2, and even leading up to that foul. that free kick he won. What did he do? He literally dribbled from the halfway line, took it all the way forward, chopped it inside, beat his man, won the free kick. I was like, great play from Madders. This is what we need to see like every game. I need to see you doing this. And then he does that on the free kick, and the rest of the game, he hides. He does this thing where he's literally just floating.
I hate, bro. Like,
I know you hate when I say he hides because he does hide because
so
that's
stupid,
show you how he
it's
hides.
the most stupid shit I've
It's
ever
not,
heard in my
because
life.
how
bro.
he hides is he's a player that naturally, if you watch him, when he wants to play, he comes into that first phase of midfield or the first phase of the pitch, and he'll pick up the ball deep. And then you'll see him. He'll look open. He might do a 1-2 of Bergvall, and then he'll shift himself out onto the left-hand side, sort of wait in the half space areas. But when he's hiding, Maddison is so far away from the bottom of the pitch, because let's have it right, he needs to pick up the ball from there. That's just what needs to happen. He's that type of player. He's
for what reason? Wait. For what? This is
why
important.
should he
for
do
what
that?
reason? For what
Because
reason does he?
That's because why does he do that? Because a guy that pulls the strings, someone that's gonna be a sole creator for their team, does that role. Odegaard,
No, do you see? This is
Odegaard
the problem.
for Arsenal
This is the problem.
and does it. Kulusevski, when he does it, he drops deep and picks up the ball. How's it double standard?
Bro, this is we're just lying now. We're just lying.
Kulusevski drops deep to pick up the ball all the time.
No, we're lying.
Not
bro.
always,
We're
though.
just lying,
Sometimes
bro.
the ball gets progressed to Maddison higher up the pitch,
That's
and then he
lying, bro.
creates for the wingers.
But you have to
Some
listen to this
players,
guy, bro. Madison has to go, yeah.
Sometimes rely on the
Madison has to go to the
midfielders to get the ball
centre-backs.
forward for the
Not to the
10s to
centre
create.
back.
But yes, this is what I'm putting. Like the problem against AZ, right, and even Bournemouth to a certain extent, but Madison wasn't playing. The problem against AZ, right, is that Archie Gray and Dancer would get the ball, right. They're looking for someone to pass to. Everyone's standing about. The right back, left back, midfielders, they're all standing about, not going to the ball, not making themselves open. So what do? They have to kick it long. AZ recycle the ball and it goes back to them. They quick attack. They don't hold the ball. They quick attack. That's
what
that's
that
what
is?
they do.
Who's supposed to come and
This is
collect
why I
the
always
ball
say-
from the defense?
It should
The
be
midfielders.
Bentancur.
No,
It
This is why I
should
always
be.
say,
No,
yeah,
but this
tends
is
to
It
get
where you're
back
getting
should
it
be,
wrong.
but that's the point. See, this is the problem I have. Like, this is with all this
If the
voting.
six is
This
always
why
going
I
to
blame
go
the
and collect,
tactic.
will the six not get pressed? It's an easy option to go the six coming deep. If Bentancur presents an option and runs that way, then you're going to have a player, someone else, come and press Bentancur, which happens a lot of the time.
Which
When
frees up
Bentancur
space
gets
for another
pressed,
pass. But
and that's
the
when
point,
Maddison's
though.
supposed to present the option,
But
which
if
he
Bentancur,
doesn't.
but remember, we just said if Bentancur
Hey,
goes
big
to
up
get
to
the
Luke.
ball,
Big up to Luke.
if
Joining us,
Bentancur goes to get the ball, it frees up. That's when Maddison's supposed to come. Maddison's not supposed to drop behind Bentancur and pick up the ball and then recycle play. Then Bentancur gets the ball. Man has to run past back him to go to the 10 and start creating. And because Tell's nowhere to be found because he's invisible, and because Brendan Johnson's nowhere to be found because he's invisible, now he has to make the run into the box and try and score, bro. This is stupid. We don't ask Kulu to do that. We shouldn't ask him to do that, because asking one player to solo squad carry another 10 man on the pitch is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But that's what you're asking. You just said yourself. No.
Drop in deep is not doing a solo squad carry.
No, I've got you in the spider's web. I've got you in a spider's
No. I
web.
don't think you get the role of a number
Jords,
8. A number
Jords,
8.
I've got you, bro. You can talk your bro.
No, because you're not gonna know. Because you're not gonna do this. You didn't listen.
You just
The role
admitted
of
it on
number
cam. I've
No,
got you on
because the role
8K.
of the number 8 is to pick up the ball from deep and then also progress the ball. Box to box, it's in the name. If you're playing in that role, then you're required to do both jobs, is pick up the ball from deep as well as make the final third play. Maddison, being a senior player, as we've seen, for one, most of his best play at Spurs has been when he drops in deeper to pick it up. It does matter when you're senior, because when you're senior, you do more than your job. Just like if you're senior, no, let's have it right. If you're at work for someone, you're a senior guy at your job. At times, when people aren't coming in, someone calls in sick. Are you not doing someone else's job for them?
Exactly. The other players called in sick. They called in sick. You keep falling into this pit because you don't know
these
what
players
you're saying.
Call in sick. I mean, these players having stinkers. If someone's having a stinker,
exactly. So the whole team's having stinkers, and on top of it, because the whole team played bad. So on extension, Maddison also played bad, but it's Maddison's fault because he's a senior player. I would have the same energy if we did this to Kulusevski, because we did it last season. We did it last season with Kulusevski. Had the exact same energy. We can't expect my man to solo squad it just because he's being played out of position and the manager's not using him correctly. This season, he's using Kulu correctly. He is shining. But all we've done is done a 180 because last season, Mandem was saying sell Kulu, keep Madders because Kulusevski's not playing well. They were saying they were smoking Buju alive because Kulu
no, they didn't like. They don't like how
predictable
predictable Kulu is on the right wing. That's all it is. On the right wing,
exactly.
Kulu,
now he's in the middle, an attacking midfield role, and he was sourcing, right? He was sourcing. No,
but again,
because
like
Kulu was that good of a player. I believe if you put Maddison in a position where you put him in his actual position and you start him how he's supposed to be playing.
He plays in his actual. No, you can't tell me he doesn't play in his position.
You just said he's a box to box. He plays box to box. You just said he plays.
No, I said when he no, I didn't. I said as a box
get your guy, bro. You get your guy, bro. I'm crooked in his hairline for him, bro. Like you've been doing this ever since he's started.
Someone who. This is what you're not going to do. Against AZ, he didn't play box to box. He played in the 10 because Bergvall was playing. Bergvall does
but you expected him to come back and pick up the ball, though. So is that playing in the 10?
Yes. Because
no, it's not.
Wait, did Bergvall not have a bad game that game?
Everyone had a bad game.
Not everyone. A lot of players did.
Apart from Bergvall,
we're focusing on the midfield in particular. Do you know what? I want to bring Luke in, yeah, because you know what? Luke's. I know he's obviously had some.
I know you have to bring him.
Madison.
You know what I'm saying, bro.
And obviously,
that, man. I hear it.
Luke is here.
I hear it, bro.
Luke, what are your thoughts on this conversation regarding Maddison, regarding the disappointment, or whether he's being used correctly, whether he's not being used correctly? Where do you lean on this conversation?
There's always got to be a little bit of balance on both sides, whether he's being utilized or he isn't, whether he's being played in his best position or he ain't. He's part of the leadership squad. He's an assistant captain. If you're not being held accountable, then what's the point in being a footballer? He has to be held accountable to be delivering in the big moments. That's the bottom line.
Sure.
You can't be expecting the same from a Bergvall as a Madison.
No, I've never said that. I'm just saying that people.
You said that
I think the tactics
that shouldn't be a difference because he's an experienced.
It shouldn't be a difference in terms of.
It should be.
It should be like the leadership group. No, in terms of being a senior player, in terms of like your age and your experience, sure, like the experience bit, I hear. But in terms of being leadership group, I don't give a fuck about leadership group. There should be a captain, and that's it. Really, in my opinion, but that's getting away from your point. The whole point is
there isn't just one captain though. There's a group in everywhere. Man City,
which is why I hate you in that. But I don't want to get too away from the point you made in it. The whole point is that I don't expect players, right, to overcome bad tactics and perform. I don't expect that. I don't expect that whether it's Bergvall, whether it's Maddison, whether it's Archie Gray, whether it's Kulusevski, whether it's Solanke. In my opinion, the tactics are just bad. We don't play good football. We overcommit in attack, yet we have no one in the box. We can't defend either way. The tactics are just bad. And I put that on the manager.
But see,
we overcommit. If we overcommit and we're putting too many men forward, then surely Maddison should be in his element.
No, because he has no space to operate.
But look,
no. All right, I've got E. Because he said earlier that the options forward aren't good. Like he doesn't have enough options in front of him to play. Like the movement.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Yasser said that. So you can hold that, yeah, with your crooked hair.
Oh no, but did you not sit there and nod your head? You were like, yeah.
I said he was cooking. I wasn't saying he's cooking in terms of that. That's not what I said. Rewind the stream with your crooked hairline. You're not getting away with this, yeah. You're not getting away with this. I never said that.
But you was all agreeing with that point. You agreed with that point.
I didn't agree with that. You can watch back the stream and see it.
So what you're saying is ultimately Maddison needs to, for one, that he needs to be the sole 10 playing in our team. Because if Kulu's there, then will Kulu not take up his space?
I just think we commit too many bodies forward. I just think the fullback shouldn't be inverting. Really, that's really. I thought they should. But
that hasn't been happening. That hasn't been happening. There's so many of these media things about we're doing this and we're doing that. Spence barely inverts. When Spence is playing left wing, he don't invert as a 10 like we used to have last year when we.
He doesn't invert as a 10, but he does invert. And Porro is the one who's more advanced in it. Spence does invert, but he stays back. Like he stays back-ish. But he's not he doesn't sit in the 10. Like Spence don't do that. Porro does that, but so I'm not really talking about. I'm just talking about in general. Like we commit too many bodies forward.
I don't know all of your faults on everything, but all I keep being told is Son is being played as a touchline winger. Spence isn't inverting. And Maddison's playing left centre mid. So therefore there should be plenty of space for him. Because one's on the touchline, Spence is behind him. I just feel like we as a fan base, we've got a thing in our heads now where we don't like Ange. So he's playing for everything. I don't.
Okay.
There has to be some sort of balance. When with Maddison, I like
Yeah.
him. I think when the going is good, he is unbelievable. When the going is bad, he ain't the guy you want there. And what Roy Keane said hit the nail on the head. When you're playing well, you've got a Maddison in the team. He can be superb. And I think everyone else, when we signed him, was like, yes, he's going to be the guy to go to the next level. But this isn't a new thing at Spurs. If he'd only just started doing this, then yeah, you could be like, oh, maybe it's the tactics, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But he's been like it everywhere. You speak to Leicester fans, you speak to anyone that's had him, and actually he's like a Defoe when he was at Spurs. He will score 10 in 10, then go do nothing for 5-6 games. That's what Maddison does. He's like a streaky player but that's not what we need.
And I hear what you're saying.
His numbers are unbelievable. You look at his numbers and they're ridiculous. But sometimes you can't just rely on numbers for every single thing. Like when you're in, say for instance, we're in the trenches.
Yeah.
Like for instance against Alkmaar, if we had Kulu in the team, I'm thinking Kulu's covering more ground.
I don't believe that at all.
Kulu's stronger.
I don't believe that at all. But it's subjective, isn't it? But I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I mean, in terms of, Jords can be a testament. I've never used Maddison's GA in order to prop him up because GA is conflated. And we just had the thing about Bruno where even though he's getting GA, I'm slating him. Like GA is, I'm watching the game in it. So GA is not a thing between me and Maddison. Also, when you said about the tactics, I understand where you're coming from. Maddison should have the space, but all you have to do is just watch the game and know he doesn't. Like it's that. And I know you watch the games. I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but just when we watch the game, we know Maddison ain't really got the space of that when he realistically should. And when it comes to Ange, bro, I've just right before, like we did a match preview. I did a match preview on another channel, Hotspur Cave, shout out Jay. Bro, I was saying on that stream, with this manager and this players, we could win Europa League. Like I've not been one to be this, oh, Ange can't do this, Ange can't do that. Sag Ange, like I'm Ange out, sure. But I still believed that we're good enough to win Europa League. I believe the manager was good enough to take us over the line. So I was saying that like 6-7 hours before the AZ game. So I've always been one. I haven't been Ange out until Tamworth because I believe that was just disgraceful on all counts from the players to the manager. I've given Ange so much leeway, and more leeway than most people in my circle, innit? It's one of them ones. Apart from Jords, Jords was obviously giving Ange more leeway than me. But in terms of people that I talk to regularly, I've given Ange way more leeway than most people. It's just one of them ones where usually I don't care about tactics. I just care about results. But if the results are not going the right way, then I have to look at tactics as to why. Now, sometimes the tactics can just be fine and the players are not performing, which I understand. And in some cases, it's true because against Man City, for example, we created enough chances to score and we didn't score. So I can't blame the manager's tactics for that because we could have drawn the game and we didn't. But there are also just as many times, if not more, where it's the manager's tactics. We can't create. We commit bodies forward, but we don't look threatening at all. We're always looking shaky at the back. At that point, it's just tactics, innit? Like, I'm not one to always to look at when we lose all the time and blame Ange, because that's not fair, innit? There's plenty of times where it's just down to us, or I said us, when it's down to the players just not performing. Like they could have easily performed better. The tactics was there. They had the opportunity and they didn't take it. And at that point, you blame the players. And Maddison has done that enough times this season. I don't have no allegiance to Maddison. If we sell him tomorrow, I don't care. I don't care because he's not a Tottenham player no more. So I don't care. But it's one of them ones where it's just, I'm not going to go out and always just blame Ange, guns blazing. I just think that I don't see us winning anything substantial with the tactics that we play. It's that simple. That's why I'm Ange out. It's not because I have a problem with Ange. It's not because, oh, he talks too much or anything. I don't care what the manager says. I care about the results. That's it. And if the results aren't working, then I got to look at why. I just don't see us winning trophies with this manager's style of play. That's the only reason. If we were getting slapped here or there, but we could win trophies, I could see us winning trophies. No problem, Ange. I'll give you time to get more players in and do your thing. But I can't see it. That's why I'm out.
I agree with you on Ange, but look, it doesn't matter which manager comes in. Could be Ancelotti, whoever. If you look at the players on the pitch, we have average players. I think we overrate our players a bit. Again, with Maddison,
or underrated.
We can agree to disagree. Ultimately, look, if he thinks of himself as an elite player, if he wants to play for England, right? If you look, there are elite players on bad teams who take it upon themselves to make a difference. Like Bruno is a good example. I hate Bruno. I hate the way he plays, but he scores. He's the only one who can score key goals for Man U. You can look at Eze and Palace. Cunha for Wolves. There are certain players who just say, yeah, tactics, forget the tactics, forget everything else. I'm going to give you that one moment of brilliance, right? They're game changers. If you look at our team, Son is not that anymore. He's done. And Madison, who most fans expected to be our game changer, post Eriksson, who was supposed to be that guy, and he's just not that consistently. And we need somebody who can consistently give us 8 out of 10 games. Like if you look at our midfield, every game we can start different 3 players. There is not one selection that we can say, okay, every week in, week out, we're going to start this one guy. So that's the issue. We don't have any game changers. We don't have any players who we can rely on outside of Kulusevski this whole season, who can actually give us something. So again, in isolation, Madison might not be a bad player, but character-wise, personality-wise, for this specific team, our issue for a decade has been lack of leadership, right? We've lacked personalities. And Madison is a luxury player. He's a front runner. He can be good on his day, but he's just not who we need on this team to teach the youngsters how to play and to take responsibility and just step up when needed. And that's
I fully agree with that. I fully agree. And I agree with what you guys are saying. Sorry, because I want to make sure that I say that I agree with what Eugene has said in terms of him being a luxury player. I don't think he's good enough as well to have Tottenham competing consistently. I will say that. Like, if Maddison gets sold, fine. I don't mind if Maddison gets sold. I'm not proponent that he's the missing piece to unlock Tottenham to go win trophies. Like, it's not none of that. I just think there's inconsistencies in terms of the way people rate these players, innit? But sorry, Luke, go ahead, innit?
No, I was just going to say, sometimes it's about what you need at that specific time. I remember back in the day when we went and signed Wilson Palacios. My man couldn't kick a ball, but we didn't need someone who could kick a ball. We had that. We needed someone that could come in and do something at the back. Sometimes you don't. Like, I feel like if we're potentially like flying, if you've got a fully Ange ball, everyone flying forward, playing well, high energy, then Maddison maybe has a place in that. But when you're struggling, when you need someone to be able to, and the weird thing is, as you were saying, like with his traits and things, the way he holds on to the ball, he should in fact be that player for us now. We need that now. We need someone that's going to put their foot on the ball, going to be able to hold on to it, going to give us good possession. And it's almost like the traits we really need right now, he's got, but we don't see enough of.
That's the thing. That is the thing. I wanted to ask you, Luke, more importantly, because obviously you're still and in. Which, no, do you know what? Some people may say it's crazy, but it's understandable. I feel like Spurs have been through a lot of change recently, and for one thing, before I turned on Ange, my point was I feel like we just need to stick with a manager, get through this time before we come back out on top. But I suppose after the weekend, why? What still leaves you trusting in this manager?
Well, I think the first thing is that when Spurs fans talk about success, sustained success with Levy will not happen. We are not going to become a club who go and win Champions League, win Premier League. We're not going to do that because the ownership will not allow it. We're not going to spend the money regularly enough. We're not going to give the wages enough. So my thing as a fan is that we might win an odd cup. That's it. That's all I believe that we're going to be able to do. And with Ange, I just feel like when it's really easy. I heard someone say recency biased, and I think that's what we've got at this moment in time. We've been poor for a while. I see some clips today actually of Ange ball when it worked, and we haven't had that. We had Conte, we had Mourinho. Spurs have always been this weird club where if you selected a best 11 from the Premier League era, Spurs' 11 could arguably be anybody's. When you're talking Bowles, your Modric, your Kanes, like we've always had a maverick. We've always had an elite level player. We've always had it for some reason. And we don't have this anymore. Like everyone, when back in the day when we had the Contes and we had the Mourinhos, everyone used to say, God, take Kane out of this team, we're 10th. Well, we've took Kane out of the team. And we're not far off 10th. I don't know what people expected. Last year, we finished 5th with this manager. And I genuinely believe that there's not many people that would have got us 5th. We lost Kane. We was playing Son through the middle as a 9 in the Premier League, and not a unbelievable Son in his prime. So I think these are things that we keep forgetting about. If anything, last year we was far ahead of schedule, and then when you start losing 12 players for 3 months, it's just not. What are you supposed to do with that? You might get a manager in that would have done a little bit better, say gone a little bit more defensive. We might have ground out a little bit here and there. But as he keeps saying, if you then do that and you're changing your tactics every 5 or 6 games, then the top players are not going to like that. The top players are not going to want to keep changing their tactics and keep going, oh yeah, we'll change for them and we'll do this for them. They want to be able to know what's going out there and what they're doing. But the last few weeks have been horrendous. And I actually think that Anjin and Anjat lot, we all want, like, we don't disagree on everything.
Yeah.
Like, no one, like, I'm not sitting here going, yeah, if we're 13th next year, we're doing all right. Like, no one's thinking that. It's just that what I'm seeing is that if we get the players back this year, we start signing players a little bit more that are first team ready. Like, everyone's talking about backing. I know someone mentioned about how much money we've spent. We've bought all youngsters that are all for 3-4 years' time. We spent, I think it was something crazy like 150 million in the summer, but actually signed one player that was going to start. Everyone else weren't going to start unless we had loads of injuries.
That's one thing I'll agree with you on. As I don't feel like Ange has been backed. I don't feel like he's been given all the players required to play his way of football. But at the same time, like Eugene said earlier, when you come out and you defend it and you say, oh, I agree with what the board are doing. Oh, we work cohesion. Oh, I agree with every signing. Like, every signing gets my go-ahead. Then you've got to look at it and be like, okay, if you wanted this, then, bro, you've got to lay it, like, this is your cake. Eat it, bro. Like, what are we doing?
But if you're a manager and I say to you, yeah, we're going to sign Gray and we're going to sign a 6, you go, yeah, I agree with Gray. Yeah, I agree with a 6. You don't get a 6. He's a manager. He's not an owner. He's not going to come out and go, yeah, well, he did tell me I was going to get a 6 and he did tell me I was going to get this. He agrees with all the players that have come in. He's not saying they're bad. What he's saying is, I expected more. If you actually listen to the interviews as well, in January, he quite clearly said he wanted another centre-back. In the summer, he quite clearly said he wanted another centre-back. We didn't sign him.
So don't you think we're good enough to be better in, like, higher up in the table, or just better than what we are now, though?
Oh, of course we are. But on the flip side of that, how good do people actually think we are? For me, when we are fully fit and all have got all our players, we're still 6th, 7th, maybe 8th. We're not like top 4, and we're.
But Luke, I have a question for you.
Look,
I've been engine for the longest time until recently, but now I've been looking 2 years in. Our defensive shape is still awful. It doesn't matter who's playing, right? It could be Romero van der Ven, or it could be Archie Gray and Danso. Just we're all over the place. After 2 years, there is no excuse. If you look at the game on Thursday or even on Sunday, we just look like the players have no idea what they're doing. Sometimes we look great. Sometimes it's the first time they're playing with each other. So in my mind, 2 years in, I was hoping those basic issues would get resolved. If you look at the coaching staff, Ryan Mason and Jedinak, like, I'm tired of seeing passing backwards or side to side. It's like, it's like a pickup game. They come in, it's the first time the players see each other and they're playing. So 2 years in, my expectations were, the first season, growing pains, everybody's learning. But the second season, especially now that some players are coming back, but when I see Bentancur, Madison, Sarr play like they've never seen each other before, there's no movement, there's no patterns of play. Defensive shape is terrible. Like, our front three, they're toothless. I'm starting to think, is it the players? Yes, I do think the players are average, but ultimately, it has to be the tactics. It has to be coaching. And I'm not saying we should be, 4th or 5th or 6th. And it's not even about the results for me. It's about what I see on the pitch as far as the, it's the shape, the passing, kind of the way the players move without the ball. And for some reason, I just don't see any improvement from last season. And that's concerning to me.
Yeah, I think, again, going back to last season, we finished 5th. So if you see an improvement on last season, we are talking 3rd, 4th. Like,
but not results.
Not that.
Results. More about like what we do on the pitch. Even if we lose, I want to
just the way we play. Yeah, like, it's not. because the league table can adjust based on the level of comp. Like I personally believe that
the level of
teams
competition
have
has
gotten.
jumped massively since last year. Massively.
Last
Like,
year,
I
you just
wouldn't.
have to look
I
at
actually
who
wouldn't.
finished before
I
finish.
would actually.
if you
I
go
wouldn't
off
argue
last
with the
year, you've
worst.
got Nottingham Forest having a season of their lives. You've got Brighton, who are probably there or thereabouts. Like, how many teams do we think are potentially going to finish with, if not their best finished, but first or second of their best finished?
I would
ever?
actually argue the
You know what I mean?
opposite. I would say that teams have regressed, which is why teams like Nottingham Forest and them are having the quote unquote season of their life. I don't think it's come out of nowhere. Of course, they've gotten better, but I think a lot of the teams from last year that were good have gotten worse.
I think it's just
which
become
is
a
why
lot
we've
more
seen it.
closer in competition.
That's
Because
what I'm saying. It's gotten closer because I think the
when-
teams that are I say it in quotation marks because obviously I don't want to disrespect
the top, you
opposition,
say
but-
like the top 6 have dropped, whilst the
yeah, like
bottom ones
the
have
top,
lifted
yeah,
as well.
have gotten better. So
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
it's closer in comp, and that's why you're seeing teams like Nottingham Forest in third. I don't think it's because they've just magically gotten so much better. I think it's because the ceiling is just lower than it was. I mean, Liverpool. There's a reason Liverpool are gone with 7 draws.
It's
Yeah, to
fair
be fair, they've only lost once, but with 7 draws, if Man City were in form, they wouldn't. 21 wins and 7 draws wouldn't be enough to be first. Man City would be first still. You get what I'm saying? So I think it's just a thing of the whole quality of the league has just gotten slightly worse. So that's why I believe Tottenham would be higher than 6, 7. I believe, like, if we played the way we played last season, I guess in a way, we would be like 5th or 4th. We'd be the same place. We'd be in the same spot, pretty much, in my opinion, anyway.
But you know this as well for me, yeah. I've always said, regardless of which manager it is, forget if it's Ange, the least the manager can do is get the best out of the players he's got. And then
Yeah.
from there on, you can say, okay, this guy's not good enough. This guy's good
No,
enough.
you're
Do
not
you know what I'm
wrong,
saying?
E. I just looked at it. Last season, this time last year, Tottenham had 53 points. Tottenham would be third in the table or second. We'd be set third in the table right now. This time last year.
Oh, there you go. I didn't even know that. I'm just making predictions.
Like, if we had the same point tally in this Premier League this season, we'd be 2 points off Arsenal.
Yeah, but this is again where if you looked at the table after probably Christmas time, something like that, 1 win was the difference, like 8 places. Everyone, I keep hearing everyone tell me that after 11, before the injuries, we were terrible. I think we were something like 9th or something like that. We were, but we were also 3 points off third. So all you need to do if you'd have had,
that's why I just say it's a comp, innit?
We went from a potential title race to 6. Literally,
yeah, it's one of them ones. Because like, Luke, I want to ask you this question, Luke. Innit? From the squad last season to the squad this season, do you think we got better or worse? Just as a squad, do you think the squad got better or got worse?
I think the squad's got better. The first 11,
because the way I see it, because obviously I'm sure there's context that I'd be missing, which I'm sure you would fill in. Because I'm obviously, I know I'm gonna miss context somewhere, but. Like, because I agree, and I feel like the squad would have gotten better going into this season. And obviously, you can view it a different way. I feel like the competition's regressed. Some people might think the competition has increased. But in my eyes, the way I see it, the style of play hasn't really set in with the players, and it's been 2 years. The squad has gotten better, and the competition's gotten worse. And we're doing even worse than we were last year by a long margin. Like 20 points off, kind of worse. If it was 5 points, maybe even 10 points, it's not that deep, bro. Because obviously the injuries play a part, and obviously again that's context that I'm missing because it's a general statement that I'm making. But in terms of just like the bare bones of it, like we're doing worse. The competition's not as good. Our team is technically better than it was last year. We still had injuries last year, and it's a 20-point difference. Like that's too much to ignore at that point.
Oh no,
number of games too, though.
And
we're playing twice.
That's what I'm saying. That's context. Yeah, context is what that missing.
That is the big part of it, and it's easy to say and it's boring to say, but the facts is that we had like 14 players out for months and months. It was like 3 months where we had 13 players out. There's no like Man City lose Rodri and all of a sudden that's it. Like that needs to. I don't think people quite understand. It's like Vicario, Romero, Van der Ven, them 3 just playing together has barely happened. And when it did happen, when it was after the 11 games, we were 3 points off third. That unless you've got your 11 out playing, and then also the players that are coming in are these inexperienced players. Like I generally believe, and this is mad to say, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but if we had Højbjerg, I think we would have picked up more points.
Do you know what's
he'd have been
funny?
coming off the bench, he'd have had the experience, he'd have been around them young players, he'd have been giving them. And going back to like a Madison's not the guy you want doing that. You want a player like a Højbjerg coming on, and we shouldn't be looking at Højbjerg as an option at this moment in time. We should be well above that. But when needs musts, what can you do? But I can't believe there's anyone that's an Anjin that would be like, yeah, if we do this again next year, then we do it. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that what I've seen is these injuries have decimated, and we're not playing once a week like Bournemouth are. If you're playing once a week, then yeah, if we didn't have Europe this year, then 100% he'd have been gone, and it'd have been fully understanding he's gone, because even with them injuries playing once a week, you should be able to manage it. But I think so was a stat recently that we haven't scored a second half goal in 3 months. And it's like, yeah, because when we get to the 50th minute, the guys can't run because they've been playing every 3 days. But so look, and then now you've got, look, like everyone was calling for Romero. He should be starting. Why is he not starting? He should have started weeks ago. Well, we was nearly 2 down in 2 minutes with Romero starting. So Romero clearly wasn't ready to start. And again, going back to yesterday, there was outpour about Porro. Horrendous. What is he doing? Where is he? Well, I know it was a goal was disallowed, but actually Spence was the one that let his man go twice.
Yeah, it was Spence.
And I love Spence.
Yeah.
Listen, I love Spence.
It was Spence. 100% it was Spence. Yeah.
I didn't hear no one talk about Spence. I didn't hear anyone.
Again, that's a double standard as well. That's a double standard as well.
And that's my feeling with it. It's like everything is on Ange. We've had Richarlison, we've had Van der Ven, and we've also had Romero all come out and basically say, thank God that there's other people that are in a medical department because Tottenham are useless at it. And yet every injury we get is on Ange. There has to be context to these sorts of things. Our medical department has been shocking for a decade. And yet it's all on Ange. I think, and I'm probably more Ange in now because of when I hear some of the arguments of Ange out, I'm just like, it doesn't even make sense. Half of what you're saying literally makes no sense.
It's the running, bro. You know that system that this Ange guy plays, and Poch did it last year at my club, bro. It's that like not even, because obviously Atletico Madrid does running. All these other teams do running. It's that sprinting for 90 minutes almost, right? That's what you just feel like you're just tearing the players. The club did it, remember? Like that kind of running, you need to have a squad. And I said it earlier before you jumped on. You need to have more than 11 players. So when Romero, like, you rest them, you kind of play, you rotate them, and it kind of gives that team the balance. When it's just one-sided, where your first 11 are just running to the ground, and then you look on the bench and you got half the players or the players that are coming out to replace them, you are expected to have that drop-off. They might be able to do the running because the running is just running, but you're not going to get that additional quality that those players might have that are supposed to be first-team players.
That's why I don't feel succeed at Spurs, because Levy ain't gonna pay the money. That's where it boils down to, isn't it? It's even if Ange can succeed with those tactics, Levy ain't gonna spend the money required and pay the wages required to get the quality plus the physicality. Which
so
if Ange could go to another club and succeed.
Point, right? So when you say, okay, it's on Levy in terms of he needs to make sure he backs the manager and gives him everything that he needs so that Ange can succeed with his system. Well, if he's not gonna get that, then Ange has to find a different way. This is my thing, because otherwise he's just there, vibing to the end, and then if it doesn't work out, he can pack his bag and leave. But then it's free.
He could succeed at another club.
The club is just a vibe.
How long is it going to go on? This is the thing. At this point, you're trying to.
That's why I don't mind sacking managers.
You haven't won anything. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
But look, with injuries, just 1 point, and again, I was the same as you, right? I was like Ange, I was saying, well, injuries were unlucky. But look, if you look at Ange's track record this season, last season, even in Scotland, right? He needs a deep squad. He's had injuries everywhere he goes based, on our style, the way we press. So what changed it for me is I don't believe we'll ever have a healthy squad with Ange. So unless we pull a Chelsea and spend £1 billion and have a super deep squad, but the way Levy does business, the way we do business, we'll never have healthy players, especially playing twice a week. So I think a lot of it, yes, our medical team has
Yeah.
been shocking for a decade, if not more. That's always the issue. But if you just look at Ange here in Scotland and before in Japan, his teams always had injury issues. So I just don't believe we'll ever
I think
have
we'll end the
our
show.
full squad fit. And I feel like
the
we'll
only-
be making the same excuses.
I agree, but I think also football's changed. And if you actually look at it, I would say Arsenal are very pragmatic in their approach most of the time, and they've got 4 forwards that are out. I don't think.
I
there's
feel
gonna
like
be
the
any team
injuries.
that don't pick up injuries now. I
But
think
even
it's just part of
even
the
Andrew
game.
saying like there's articles that
What?
were written while he was in Celtic, in Scotland, where he was saying like all the same stuff he was basically saying here is the stuff he was saying back in Scotland in terms of, like he said, right, that he's not willing, like he's more willing to risk injuring the players in order to preserve his style of football.
Yeah,
Like he's willing to, he wants to play his style of football to the point where he would rather see his players go down injured so he can continue playing his style of football. It's at that point I was like, okay, so I can never ask for an adaptation, can never ask for him to make changes. So now I got to base it off what I see on the pitch, and I don't.
That's where my biggest problem is like we've even seen. To be fair, I think it'd be fair to say, like Luke pointed out earlier, there have been adaptations. There has been tactical changes. I'll just be honest and say that I don't think the tactical changes have been good enough. I feel like
that's
some
a
of the
different question.
That's the thing, though. Is you can ask a player. You can ask a manager to make adaptations, but at the same time, he's not finding the right solutions with the right players, and that's where I like Eugene.
And Evie won't give him the right players as well.
Is the actual coaching element is like maybe I just don't think Ange is a good enough coach for a guy that likes a lot of young players. For one, young players need to be coached, and two, if you're bringing in all these young players, you need to be able to have quite an instant impact on them, and it doesn't seem like Ange is having that required impact on this team. Maybe a few players, but even those players, you could say the likes of Bergvall, maybe not Archie Gray, but Bergvall and Spence, you could say just naturally progressing as they would as players. So you could say maybe it is coaching, maybe it's not. So I think on that side of things, I just feel like Ange is falling a bit short.
But again, that's what I'm saying about balance. I'm not sitting here saying that Ange is tactically unbelievable. I know there's certain things where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have done that. Like every single game, and I've said this before on other shows. I remember sitting there pulling my hair out at Pochettino, going, "We're 4-0 up at home with 2 minutes left. Why have you not brought on the 17-year-old you got on the bench?" Like this isn't just like a new thing that only Postecoglou does it. But again, the whole Jed Spence thing to me is absolutely baffling. That's one of the most baffling things in the world. Right now, Jed Spence is playing the best football he's ever played in his whole career. And yet, Ange believe that he's somehow been mismanaged. I don't understand it. It makes, should he have brought him in a bit earlier? Should he brought him? But the facts is that when you actually go through it, Conte, he was brought in under Conte. Conte didn't want him. Conte didn't fancy him from the get-go. Yeah. He went out on loan to Leeds. Archie Gray replaced him as the right back. He went out on loan to Rennes. As soon as their captain got back from injury, he was bombed out. There was a buy option for him on Genoa. They spent 40 million, I think it was, that summer, or 35 million, and they didn't think he was worth 8.5 million. But yeah, apparently Ange just mismanaged him. He's no one's ever doubted his ability. It's always been his attitude. And even things like Ange, if you actually listen to the interview, this whole thing about Ange's he's taken full responsibility for Jed Spence becoming the player he is. If you actually listen to what he said this is all on him. He said, I held him back, and the only reason he's playing is all on him. But yet, if you listen to what the media are telling you, he's basically taking all of the credit. So there has to be a little bit of context. And even with the Celtic one as well, if I remember rightly, in the interview that was actually said, what he was saying is, in the first year, my system will get injuries because of the way that I play. But over time, the body will heal and then the body will come back. So this year, we've got the whole, he brought Romero back too quick. Romero turned and got a completely different injury. He had a hamstring injury. He started the game. He went off with a quad injury. The whole Van der Ven thing, re-injuring the hamstring, that's a re-injury. That's coming from the medical team. That don't come from the manager. The initial injury, I get maybe, that is his fault. And the other one that I think he has to take responsibility for is Udogie, because I think Udogie was played so much.
Poorly, man.
And Kulusevski and Poirot. It's just Like,
yeah,
I agree with you.
But then I think now he's in a situation where, like, I keep hearing everyone tell me they don't care about league. I don't care about league. It's all about Europa League. I don't care about league. We draw to a Bournemouth, and we should have beat them. I'm like, what? You can't have it both ways. Like, it's
I feel like with the league, I feel like with the team selections, he's got to do. He should have done better in the season, like you said, with the rotations. And I feel like even up until now, like what Eugene's referencing with Porro, with Kulu, Porro's only been rotated the last, I'd say, 2 or 3 weeks. Prior to that, there was no rotation with Porro. And then obviously Kulu, he hasn't been rotated. We saw him come on in games against Elfsborg. He was playing 90 minutes in against Hoffenheim and these things. And it was just like, bro, what's going on here? I get Kulu's important to the way that we play, but he's overplaying him. And then we're now stuck in a position where, Kulu's out now. And our most important game of the season, we're missing our best player. Like,
the squad management.
But again, I do agree with you, Luke, and say that it's not fully on Ange, the injuries, because I do think one thing we do just have to consider as football fans, there is loads of football. There's loads of football, not that many breaks. Players are naturally, not just us, every team's having injury problems. And that's just because the fixture schedule is so heavy. The players just aren't recovering as good.
We're not in a position to be able to kind of half forfeit games. Like the Ipswich game, everyone was saying, why the hell did he play against Ipswich? And I'm like, do you know why he played against Ipswich? Because if we lost to Ipswich, he's gone. Whereas if we lose to City the next game, it's like, City. So if he's in a position, if we were like, I don't know, maybe not third or something like that, but if we was high up in the table, he could half say, let's. But I feel like he's in a position that every time he loses or drops points, people are just going to be like, he needs to go, even though that last week they were saying I don't even care about the league position. So and I'm not saying that like sympathy for him. We're in a shit situation. That's the bottom line. But it's almost like no matter what's said or done now, there's going to be a problem about it.
It's one of those. Agendas are there 1,000%. But if you look just at the squad management, right? Like my issue is early in the season, even if you don't rate Spence or Reguilon, even playing Porro, Udogi, Kulusevski twice a week in Europe and in all the cups, and we're up like 4-0, and you don't bring in Archie Gray the 6 or Mikey Moore. Where's Mikey Moore right now? It just feels like some players have been so overplayed, and not including Spence in Europa or Reguilon in Europa. Having I know there's you have to have homegrown players and whatever, but I just feel like early in the season when players were still fit, Ange could have managed the squad better, where the players wouldn't be overplayed.
100%. I agree with
that.
But
I think it's the other part. Now,
I think the other part of that is exactly what you said. We have to go into Europe with 23-man squad because the squad has been mismanaged for the last 10 years. Like, how can you be a top 4 club going into Europe and you haven't got 4 players from your squad, from your academy? The whole squad's been mismanaged. And then even what you said about the Jed Spence thing, everyone said what he done when he actually selected the squad. Everyone said that's a great decision because do you know what would have happened? Vicario would have got injured and would have been starting Austin every game, and Austin hadn't played a game. And there's no one that can sit here and say, "Oh yeah, I would have had Austin as our second keeper." No one would have. When we knew we had Foster, everyone was like, "Oh, thank God we've got someone," because Whiteman and Austin ain't up to it. Then Austin plays a game, and now everyone's going, "Oh, he should never play."
You know what it was though? When everyone knew once Foster come in, there was going to be no sustainability with him, and we saw pretty much after a few games, especially that Man United performance, it was like, yeah, nah, we definitely can't do this. And
we were more surprised he was okay for 2 games, bro.
I'm being more surprised that because after Ange come out in that press conference, he's like, no, we're not looking to replace him or sign anyone. And then he's literally been dropped out of the squad completely for the Europa League and never been seen in the Premier League squad since, I'm pretty sure, like the last couple months. But before we head out, guys, I've got to wrap up, but I want to quickly there's a question put in here from Riot Show some way up. Ashley's put about 50 comments, so I won't even be able to find it. Don't know where Ashley is. He was supposed to show his face on stream. I called him out in the halftime talk, and again, no, doesn't want to show his face, but he wants to waffle in the chat. So yeah, top coach in the chat. We hear what you're saying. But the question was,
where are your badges? Sorry, my fault. Sorry.
No, he does it all the time. But he actually mentioned the other day. He said, "I played at a top level. You can't tell me nothing." I was like, "What top level, Ashley?" Just went straight back to farm.
Ashley Young? Is that him?
We don't know, fam. We don't know. It could be an Autobot, innit? You know, we don't.
But that's it. Right, Shaw said 10 games left. How many points everyone think we're going to finish on? Quickly around the panel. What do you guys think is a realistic option? So the maximum amount is obviously 63. Is the most amount of points. That's pretty sure that's less than what we finished on last year. So
63 engine.
I rate it though. I rate it. I actually don't know. Maybe like mid-40s, I guess, probably. Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't really know exactly who we have left. Like, I know we have Chelsea.
We've got some tough games.
I know we've got like Chelsea. We've got Liverpool as well, innit? I don't remember. But we'll definitely.
I'm going to put up the fixtures now. I'm going to have a look because I don't know who you guys got anyway.
Oh, look, 10 games left.
I actually think with the Europa League, it could be like, let's just say Devil's Advocate, we go out on Thursday. Then the number of points that we get, I think, will be increased by quite a lot because he's then got nothing else to play for. He has to play. Whereas if we in Europe, you would imagine the games before are just going to be a bit of a. Well, they're tough games. They're tough games.
Yo, Jords, let me share the screen quickly.
Yeah. I was literally just gonna see. I've got the fixtures up. Yeah.
Oh, you got it.
I've shared the screen so you can see here as well. We got away games at Fulham, Chelsea, Wolves, Liverpool, and West Ham, and Villa, all away. And the other 5 are obviously Brighton home, Palace home, Forest home, Southampton home, and I forgot. No, we got 4 home games and then 6 away games.
They got Liverpool away as well.
Liverpool and Chelsea away.
The only thing with a couple of them games is you need to find out where we are in Europe and whether there's a game before or after that. And then also like Liverpool, for instance, they could have wrapped up the league. They could be in the Champions League. They could be going, we'll just get a youth team to play that game. Do you know what I mean? This is where it starts.
Do you know what? That's the one thing. You are right. But they could, I think, believe they could win the league before this game. They could win the league with their point tally right now. They could win the league. If they beat Arsenal, I think
Arsenal. I think Arsenal they can win it.
I think when they get to Arsenal, they might just get the guard of honor thing. Bro. I don't think they would have won it before that. Still, I reckon.
No,
they win it at that game time.
It could be the game before they can win it.
Depends on Arsenal's results. To be fair, Arsenal.
I'd love to see Arsenal do a guard of honor. I'd love it.
I'll be honest. I couldn't even care less at this point. I'll be real.
Oh, the screenshot.
Right that point where we couldn't even care less. Like we really can't even look. Like as much as I'm on the rival shows chatting rubbish.
George, think about it, bro. Hey, we both didn't win trophies. Plus, they had to do a guard of honor, fam. They had a worse season, bro. I can't lie. When did we do a guard of honor for Liverpool? Couldn't be my club, man. Couldn't be my club.
I think 15, 18 points. I think we'll get from the last.
18, that's 5 to 6 wins.
5 or 6 wins, a couple of draws, maybe 5 wins, a couple of draws.
If we finish, I'd say that if we get above 50 points, it's not been a terrible. Well, I mean, it's terrible, but it's not terrible. But that all that means is that Fulham in 10th just need 8 points potentially to finish above us. So 2 wins and 2 draws, and they've done their season's above us. So definitely not getting top 10. I think we've established, guys. We're definitely not getting top 10. So it's Europa or bust right now. But big up to everyone that's come inside, man. Big up to all you guys for jumping in and the calling show. We're definitely going to be running this back probably 2 weeks time.
I want to see that little back and forth between us. I want to see that in a clip video somewhere. Innit? I want to see a Durag Diaries premiere when I wake up. Yeah, it's just me and you just shouting at each other down the mic, bro.
Don't worry, I've saved the video for when we win the Europa League and I'm Angie and you're all like Angie and I'm laughing. You know what I mean?
Hey, I will be there. I will be there holding my cooking. No care.
I'll be there in Bilbao. Trust me. If we're in the Europa League final, I'm there. I'm going to get the flight. I'm going to be there no matter what.
No cap. I might have to take that trip too. I'm going to be real. I might have to.
If Madison's got the winning goal, I don't even count. I don't care.
He's going to be running around, shirt off. Oh, my dad.
We'll see.
Make sure you've liked the video if you haven't already. Make sure, look, everyone else who actually has a channel here. So I suppose if you guys have a channel, please feel free to shout out your channel. Obviously, Elijah, too much of E. You guys have seen him. He's going to be back on tomorrow. Boardroom Talks, 9 p.m. Make sure you guys are there. Luke, have you got a channel? Have you got anywhere that people can see?
I've just started it on YouTube, but I haven't done a video yet. I'm going to wait a little bit, make sure the Ange don't get sacked before I start.
He wants to start the Ange stream and it's actually got some wheels, because right now it's down to bare bones. No engine in there.
This is
going to be rant, bro. Yeah.
It's good.
Tomorrow,
do you know what I will say?
Tomorrow, I might start it Friday.
It's probably I'll be real. It's probably your best time to start because you will be one of very few, and loads of people will have you on their show. Loads of people will get you on their show.
And trust me, the YouTube consensus is far different from not only just the stadium, but if you just talk to people on the street. Most walking people are Anjin still. So yeah, don't get put off by the consensus on YouTube.
Last word on Spurs retweeted a poll today, and it's actually 43% in, 57 out. So
yeah, no, it's very close. There's still a lot.
I hear it.
But yeah,
fair enough. YouTube, but, don't be put off by the comments, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Yeah, man. Don't worry. There's a big consensus.
I'm a I-am a Spurs fan.
100%.
Used to this. Born and bred, used to this. Yasir TV. I did. You know what? He actually has a clip out. If you guys haven't seen, I tagged him in the clip. Just bunning up my Amarim. It was funny. I can't even lie. Ruben scammering for real. Make sure you show some love on Yasir. He said you do watch alongs every now and again with Yasir, innit?
Yeah, man, I do watch alongs. I'm starting to do I'm starting to get I recently started doing a show. I think it's called the Hold That Show. That's what we call it. I do with the guy called AJ. I don't know if you've seen him. He's usually on Northside channel and that. So we do that one. He's an Arsenal fan. And yeah, man, mostly previews before games. And yeah, it's mostly watch alongs as well. But yeah, man, you have to start finding the dates and all that. You know what I mean? To either just start.
The people know with me, man. It's still trying to put together schedules and stuff. It's hard. That's why I say every 2 weeks.
Yeah, where you can kind of do certain shows a bit early, innit? But I'm on the road early, so I can't. You get it? So I have to come back. So all my shows
and in the night,
as I said, man's grinding like Archie Gray in the injury crisis, bro. He's on it. I'm seeing him
right now. I'm on it, man. Just doing as much as possible. I'll probably be back tomorrow morning. I probably will be back tomorrow morning. So keep an eye out for that stream. Eugene, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Eugene's face. He's he hasn't got a channel, but he's big within the Spurs
love of the game.
You just know his face for the love of the game.
I used to be the token engine guy on all the streams. Now I'm tired. I'm out of steam. So Luke, now it's your turn.
Tag me in.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go, man.
Too much stress. Now, win or lose, I don't care at this point. Other than
it's so much easier to not care.
He's already on vacation, man. He's already planning the summer.
No, to be real, I don't know. I want to see Mikey Moore. I want to see Archie Gray the 6. The only reason for me to watch games, my son, who hates me now, every time he's like, why can't you win games? Why did you pick Tottenham? Every week. Last week he was crying when we lost. He's like, Dad, why did you pick Tottenham? So
Eugene,
I'm all in.
Build character, my friend. That's why.
Trust me, character building. That's what you should say next to him. When you become a man, you're gonna know.
I'll be there in April for the Forest game. I hope it's not Ryan Mason on the sidelines or so. Hopefully,
what game is that?
We'll see. Huh?
What game is that?
Forest.
Okay.
That's so.
We're gonna have Wolfie on the channel for that one. We're gonna have Wolfie on the channel for that preview.
I'm excited.
That's gonna be a good one. But yeah, man. Look, big up to everyone that's inside.
Big up, guys.
If you haven't already. And yeah, man. Big up to the panel each and every time. We're back.
We're gonna talk some music on your channel once in a while. When the season's over, let's do music talk.
100%.
All right.
Peace.
All right,